For the second week in succession, a Gessler has won the Delano Pole Award. This time it's Matthias Taub with Adrian Devereaux on the outside of the front row, Leonid Roderick and David Krikorian, who returns to the series in row 2. The major news item coming into this weekend is that Greg Woodard, who was given the win to the 2013 round of Wales a couple hours after the race, will keep that victory very controversially, and Greg Woodard is now officially a TM Master Cup Series race winner, a decision that was not hugely popular in the paddock, but needless to say, that's the official verdict on that. This is a map of Road Gatineau, as you can see right there. We have 16 turns. It's the longest course that the Master Cup Series visits, and well, you might notice all those very long straightaways. Some of those are also uphill and downhill, so turn 4 going uphill, turn 11 going downhill, and fuel consumption as a result is going to be a very big issue today because these are very long straightaways. It's very, very warm out today, and not only that, but there's also a huge split between some of the fast cars and the slow cars because the more aerodynamic cars and the more powerful cars tend to pull away rather easily here. Despite that, I think we'll have a good race. Dan, off to you. Thank you, Lance. We've already got problems with one car. Marcus Leonard in the 999 car didn't make it halfway around the pace lap before the car stalled on track, so Leonard will not be taking the green with the rest of the field. Mechanical difficulties have already wiped one car from the field. Matthias Taub in car number 10 leads the field to the green. As you see right there, he gets a good jump on Adrian Devereaux, slots in front of the one car before turn 1. Kingston already peeking out, making it 3 wide. A couple other cars peeking out as well. As the whole field enters turn 1, Taub and Devereaux through cleanly. Maybe some contact in the back. Yeah, we got one car sideways. Morgan Le Fay off in the sand trap. And going back here, Kurt Pliskin in the 16 car also ran into problems. Zelda Ashby in the 55 gets in the back of him. Pliskin spins it around. Davenport misses him. Oh, Quiggles Jr. hard into the side of Pliskin. Danny Savin in it. Martinez, it looks like Ian Cooper may have gotten a piece. Brandon LaRoe. Cameron Taylor, the winner of the TM Lights race yesterday, is involved. And here's Ebenezer Quiggles Jr. Got a bit of help from Kevin Dwyer. Slid sideways into the 41 car of Greg Woodard. And then Quiggles Jr. nowhere to go into the side of the 16 car. And time penalty to car 55. Melanie Cleveneau making a move as Zach Duff got cut off by Packer Carroll. And Cleveneau really nowhere to go, but into the side of the 74 car, and around she went. Interestingly enough, didn't hear anything about that incident. Adrian Devereaux on the first lap really going for it, slides inside of Matthias Taub in the 10. Roderick in the orange number 4 tried to make a look there, but decided against that. As Devereaux is going to clear Matthias Taub now, and we've got 5 cars sort of breaking away from the field, but they're all pretty close together. New paint job for Scott Bates in the 88 car, the CustomCarts.com car. He's chasing down David Krikorian, who's in the third hottest Walter car. Started 4th, didn't get the best start for DK, but he's having a pretty good run all weekend. It's his first run in this car, and it's his first run in the series for quite some time. So, despite that, I'd have to say DK's had a good start to the race, and it was weekend rather. And Scott Bates in the 88 car has also been very quick this weekend. Gasper D'Souza in the 00 car was the car that got into Morgan Le Fay in turn 1. And he's got Davina Henton right behind him in the 11 car. And oh, there goes D'Souza! Around he goes, look out, look out! Oh, and that's one of the other Lynx cars. It's Claire Aussier in the 21 car, the French-Canadian, in trouble already. D'Souza in the 00, though, is going to go out very early. That's a lot of damage to the 00 car. Believe it or not, D'Souza has actually had a very good season, and he's put himself in position to be a dark horse for the championship. So this is definitely going to hurt his chances quite substantially.
Fucking people can't drive. I think it's a fucking retarded penguin, and whoever the fuck is in the 21 is getting put in the fucking tanks. That's a Swedish too.
Well, and as you see there, the 21 car of Claire Aussier out of the race as well. A lot of damage to the front end of that 21 car. On board, Davina Henton in the 11. And I have a feeling Packer Carroll got a little squirrely. Duff inside of Carroll. Henton went for it. That door closed a little quickly. I have to say Henton was being a little too ambitious there. Davina Henton enters this race as the championship leader, and I don't think the last thing she wants is a big setback like a time penalty like that. And as you can see, D'Souza, well, I'm surprised not more people than that didn't get into him, because there's Han Young Sung and Chris Johans just barely missed him. As here's The number 10 car, Matthias Taub, wants the lead back from Adrian Devereaux. Leonid Roderick right behind Taub, just in case anything. There's a little slip up there as Luciano Savarol and Arto Kakkonen battle behind them. No, here comes Matthias Taub, slings through, tries to take the lead. Devereaux denies him, and Leonid Roderick now gets a run on Taub to try to get by him around the outside through these very undulating straightaway up here. And Taub is now going to have to deal with Roderick now. Evgeny Kuznetsov in car number 8 has had a pretty good start. He's up to 15th in this number 8 car. Started off the season very slowly, but he's picked it up quite substantially as of late. Packer Carroll in car number 2 is now fighting with Cade Taylor. Cade Taylor making his series debut. Cade Taylor and the Luke Star team did most of their testing at this track, and as a result, I don't think it's much of a surprise to see them running as well as they are. This is Cade Taylor's first start. He's got a fair bit of experience in this part of the world, so not exactly a complete nobody, but Cade Taylor having a pretty good start to his Master Cup career. Chris Davenport in the orange number 6 and Kevin Dwyer both off to some pretty good starts. This is one of Davenport's best weekends, but he's fighting with Kevin Dwyer, and Chris Davenport and Kevin Dwyer don't normally give an inch. Granted, we've seen Chris Davenport not give an inch and just throw it off into the boondocks more often than not. And here is the number 10 of Matthias Taub. He's got the 3 car of Luciano Savarol right behind him. Savarol really dogging Taub as they come down through the final couple of corners. And contact between Savarol and Taub. Taub corrects it into the side of the pit wall. Taub is going to make a pit stop, though. Look at Taub really is just going to turn this into a scheduled stop. But that's a big disappointment there. I wonder what happened here. We're on board with Savarol. And there's Taub, and wait a minute. The Colmarell Altair that Luciano Savarol drives has a pointed nose on it. It's the only car in the field like that. I wonder if Taub didn't get hooked by that pointed nose on that 3 car, and that's what sent him into the pit lane. No time penalty to Savarol. Here's Han Young-sung making his Master Cup Series debut. He's up to 22nd in a second. Vernstrom, his teammate to Friedrich Jaeger. He's going to pit rather early too, but I think this is a strategy call by that team. I'm not sure why, but Han Young-sung into the pits early. DK and the 88 of Scott Bates and Lewis Kingston in the 17 are battling over 7th right now. So DK in that 66 car, this car was the same car that Alan Hodges ran at Wales, so we know he's got a pretty good piece under him. And there's Kingston, the 17 car, making a run across. Contact with Bates! Big save by the 88 car. Scott Bates in this 88 in the 88 Custom Karts ride, fired up about having his new sponsor on board, and he's giving them a hell of a show right now. Bates holding off Kingston and DK in the far superior Altair, but Bates now is going to have to really hang on. He's a bit wide, I think. As Kingston slides underneath, Bates just went a little bit too wide, slid onto the curb. Kingston went right on by. But Scott Bates fired up again. He's going to try to fend off Gregorian now in a drag race. That's a drag race that I would expect Gregorian to win quite handily, but Scott Bates denying him. Kevin Dwyer sweeping into the mix in the 72. Scott Bates very aggressively defending that spot. As DK having to sort of take to the grass to get by. Scott Bates not surrendering that at all. Never quit is his catchphrase, and he's living up to that right now as Yulia Nasova in the 7 car is blowing out smoke, and Nasova in one of the 2 Katsevs out of the race early. Scott Bates' teammate Ian Cooper, on the other hand, is battling for 22nd after having to dive into the grass to miss some first-turn shenanigans, as Ian Cooper goes right by Ben Atkins, and the car Ian Cooper drives is not the most popular car up here in Quebec, but needless to say, definitely one of the nicer-looking cars on the grid, and Ben Atkins now having to read the back of that car just like everyone else is right now. But Ian Cooper in that 777 car, not exactly the best start to the race, but clearly making some headway in that 777 car. Probably will definitely be seeing red, that's for sure. There he is, the 777 car, the Lysander machine. Ian Cooper, as I said, that car is going to be running for a while. Will be running at Ohio as well. David Gregorian, the 66 car. Gregorian off the road. Scott Bates off the road as well. 2 guys I think that were trying very hard early. Gregorian's got a lot of damage to that 66 car. Bates looks like he'll be able to continue, but I think DK is out early. Greg Woodard in the 41 car is pitting from 13th. I think he might have run over some debris or something. Either way, if this is a scheduled stop, it might be a lap early for that, though. There are some people running strategies about half the fuel run, but back to Melanie Kalivno, who is up to 16th after getting cut off by Packer Carroll and Zach Duff early on. It doesn't seem like Kalivno's had the same kind of results as teammate Davina Henton, but when the chips are down, I think Kalivno's been able to get more out of the car than Davina Henton has. And I think there's a rumor going around in the paddock, and I heard this a couple days ago, that Kalivno could be in consideration for one of the Hodges-Walter seats alongside Adrian Devereaux. Two guys that also might be in contention for that seat are right behind her, both Manacor drivers. Despite their obvious talents of Chris Johans and Scott Soiler, both of them might be out of a drive soon because Manacor Engineering running very short on funding. And I'm not sure if either driver has a solid backup plan lined up if that eventuates. Here's Yevgeny Kuznetsov in the 8 car, sliding a bit off course. And he's going to be able to rejoin. Kuznetsov, former rally driver, he's quite used to throwing a car off into some dirt and being able to hang on to it. So he holds on to it, but now he's got to deal with Melanie Kalivno. Kalivno's going to go right on by. The Swiss sophomore has been very, very impressive. Dominated Karyala, lost it in the last stint of the race to her teammate Henton. But regardless, Kalivno still showing some talent here today. As Chris Johans makes contact with Cade Taylor, Peter Short chasing Davenport for 13th, and Davenport and Short both hit the pit lane. I believe this might be scheduled stops here for both Davenport and Short. As Friedrich Jaeger in the 256 car, he's running back in 21st, and whoops, and off he goes into the sand pit. Insert 12, and that's going to be a big setback for that team. As the leaders have encountered Morgan Le Fay making her series debut. Le Fay has been into the pit lane twice already. She got punted by D'Souza in the first corner, and Le Fay not exactly making Roderick's life easy. And here's Le Fay now with Adrian Devereaux now as Roderick bails into the pit lane. Adrian Devereaux is now stuck behind Morgan Le Fay, and I wonder if I'm not, that was Arto Kakinen or Luciano Savarol, I might have opted to try to bail into the pit lane at the last second, especially because Morgan Le Fay is not exactly giving Adrian Devereaux an easy time here. And Morgan Le Fay cutting off Devereaux there in turn 1. Devereaux, I think, was ready to shove Le Fay off into the sand pit, as we've seen him do sometimes. Some of the back markers. Le Fay, though, wants to get back to try to get the spot back. Oh no! Le Fay's taking Kakinen off the road! Morgan Le Fay and Arto Kakinen made contact, and Le Fay was a couple of laps down. So there's really no way Le Fay was going to get anything back from this. But Morgan Le Fay, the Team Canada points leader, driving for the WYSIWYG World Soft team, just takes Arto Kakinen and herself off the road. Brandon LaRoe is running back in 27th place. Smoke Bill is at the back of the Afterburner car, and he goes out of the race. He came second in the TM Lights race yesterday, so needless to say, he's going to have a good weekend, regardless what happens to him in this race. Not necessarily good for his Independence Trophy bid, though. Adrian Devereaux in car number 1 hits the pit lane. Luciano Savarol and Michael Sykes pit with him. I believe Arto Kakinen is scheduled to come in as well, despite that setback after contact with Morgan Le Fay. And there's Arto Kakinen, and there he is as well. Doesn't look like there's any serious damage to that 9 car, but that's a bit of a setback for Arto. Kingston into the pits in the 17. Ashby in the 55 as well. Kevin Dwyer, Davina Henton battling for 9th place, coming off the last couple of corners. They make contact, and Henton into the tire wall. Dwyer into the wall as well. And Henton, I think, made another move there on Kevin Dwyer. But Kevin Dwyer was, I think, entering the pit lane this time by. Henton just got into the back of the 72. Both of them into that tire wall over there. Right rear on the 72 car. Absolutely destroyed. Kevin Dwyer furious on the radio. And both Dwyer and Henton out of the race. And now here's Melanie Kalivno, the other Lynx car, coming into the pit lane along with pretty much everybody else. As we see here, Adrian Devereaux and Luciano Savarol leaving pit lane. Savarol challenges Devereaux on pit out. No, and Adrian Devereaux doesn't give him enough space. Michael Sykes slots into 4th as Leonid Roderick in the number 4 car continues to lead in the Aperture Science Volpe, picking up pretty much where he left off in the last road course at all the way over in Wales. But here we go with the two Hodges-Walter teammates, Devereaux and Savarol. Savarol making a move on the Frenchman, and I think Savarol is going to get the place. Devereaux not exactly giving up. yet. Devereaux tucks right behind Savarol, though. Han Young-sung in car 425 is up to 16th, but he's off cycle. This could be a pretty big result for the Korean, or he could wind up with a very, very bad result. It's a pretty big gamble for a driver in their Master Cup Series debut. He's been stellar on some of the larger ovals in TM Lights, especially at Darlington at the season opener at Fontana, but other than that, we haven't seen a whole lot of speed from him. He's been competitive in TM Lights. He hasn't been a back marker, but he's just been strongest on the large ovals. Han Young-sung, car 425, the second Bernstrom. Jose Luis Martinez is running in 13th, the first time we've seen him in a Master Cup car since he failed to qualify for Cariala, but his first start since the season opener at Fontana. Won at Daytona a couple of years ago, the last time I think we'll ever see Master Cup cars at Daytona, thankfully. He's running up in 13th, and he's doing a pretty good job. Driving for Alex Harrison's team, that team won the Independence Trophy last year. Zach Duff in the 74 is the last car to pit, and who's that in front of him? I think that could be Morgan Le Fay in the 343 car. Michael Sykes, Arto Kekkonen battling for position. Little contact there. Oh, they get together again! Michael Sykes up the wall! And it was Michael Sykes is over in the number 5 car. That's both Kekkonen and Sykes out of the race from guaranteed top 5s, I think. Sykes looks like pushed wide into the 9 car, and I think Arto may have lost the back end or something, but Arto hooked the back of the 5 car hard into the wall. Little hard to tell. I don't think Arto would have done that on purpose, considering what part of the track that is. Let's see. Sykes goes, Arto Kekkonen definitely lost the back end of that car, caught it, and then he just hooked the back of Michael Sykes' car. Unfortunate timing there, but Arto Kekkonen and Michael Sykes both out of the race. Big contact. The front end of that 9 car absolutely destroyed. Ashby goes by, but Ashby's well down the order, not that far down the order. I think there's Kingston and Carroll, who are effectively now running in 3rd and 4th. And Greg Woodard, who is off the lead lap, but Arto Kekkonen out of the race. Very disappointing for the Darlington winner. And here we are, 10 laps into the race. We got Leonid Roderick still in the lead. There we go. Yes, Kingston and Packer Carroll fighting for 4th place. Sorry, forgot about Adrian Devereaux. As we got 25 cars still circulating. Morgan Le Fay, 5 laps down, but still running out there. As Leonid Roderick continues to lead. The fastest lap was a 2-minute 16.993 by Matthias Taub. That's the fastest lap of the race so far. So Taub really putting on some hot laps despite being well down the order. Here is Chris Davenport in the Launch Orange, car number 6. Davenport's drive is under a fair bit of doubt, considering that he has not had a very good season at all. His first full season of competing in this series. There's been some talks that he might be replaced if he doesn't pick up the pace. He has so far today. Cade Taylor has been caught by Scott Stoidler and Jose Luis Martinez. Cade Taylor in the Luxar car trying to hold off Stoidler and in the Manacor, who's very, very hungry for a good result here. In that car, Scott Stoidler has been very much overlooked this year, largely by how inept Manacor engineering has been. And Jose Luis Martinez, well, that's his first start, really, in a while. Leonid Roderick is into the pit lane on lap 11. Lewis Kingston is scheduled to be into the pits. And I think the Hodges Walter boys will be coming in a lap later. So there we go. There's Packer Carroll in as well. So both the Volpes in on lap 11, and both the Hodges Walter cars in on lap 12. So Adrian Devereaux and Luciano Savarol trying to go that extra lap. Matthias Taub in on lap 12. And is that Morgan Le Fay in again in the background? I think it is. So Matthias Taub in the 10 car in. Kuznetsov in the 8 car is in. Zach Duff in the 74 car has been having a pretty strong season considering what the Juno is capable of. He's running in the top 10 right now, and he's en route to repairing his much tarnished reputation over the past couple of years, where really he hasn't been much of a factor at all. He's just sort of had to hang around in substandard cars. He's got a pretty good go in that ride. Anyways, Adrian Devereaux in the car number 1 has fallen away a bit from Luciano Savarol and Leonid Roderick. And there's Adrian Devereaux in the 1 car. Oh, wait, we got smoke coming out of the back of that car. So never mind. Right as he was able to try to reel in the leaders, something goes wrong on the 1 car, and he's pulled over. Smoke coming out of the back of that car, and Adrian Devereaux is out of the race. So, well, it looks like most of the main championship contenders have had their race sort of just fall apart. Devereaux out, Sykes out, Arto Kekkonen out, Davina Henton out. So anyways, Leonid Roderick in the 4 car has now got a he's got a comfortable lead over Savaral, but now Lewis Kingston and Packer Carroll, along with Zelda Ashby, are squabbling over 3rd. And yes, Zelda Ashby has had good enough pit work to put her far enough ahead of these 2 cars. Lewis Kingston in that 17 car, giving the Nemoto another great performance. And just a side note here, Lewis Kingston and Zelda Ashby's careers have a bit of an interesting parallel, and that both drivers have not won in the same season. If there's a year where Kingston wins, then Ashby doesn't win, and if there's a year where Ashby wins, then Kingston doesn't. And considering that Kingston won a race last year, one has to suggest that Ashby's due for a win fairly soon. Peter Short in the 22 car is just slowly working his way through the field in this 22 car. He's having a pretty solid run despite a bit of a sketchy start to today. But the 4-time world champion has really been very good at picking up results when things go wrong with his rivals. Of course, they had a very strong run at Wales before tire problems and other things happened to him. But Peter Short in car 22, he's not fighting for position with Greg Woodard. Woodard's a lap down, so Peter Short not losing any ground there. But he's got to worry about that car behind him, and that is the Lynx car of Melanie Cleveno, the only one of the 3 Lynx cars still running. And Woodard giving Peter Short a bit more of a headache than he'd like, especially now that he's got Cleveno really bearing down on him. The Swiss sophomore is not exactly the type of driver that's going to just wait behind somebody for very long. Cleveno is one of the hardest chargers that we have coming up in this series. Packer Carroll, who won this race last year after most of his rivals fell around about him, been having a very strong run. I wonder if this is just one of those circuits at which Packer Carroll genuinely excels at. And he's riding behind Lewis Kingston here. He's had a very, very, very messy season, has Packer Carroll. He needs something to turn it around, and I'm pretty sure he was circling this date and really grinning from ear to ear once he was able to get here. And this number 2 car has been on the pace. He hasn't been as quick as Roderick, but he has been on the pace, and what he needs is a confidence booster, because Leonid Roderick has, well, quite frankly, been beating Packer Carroll religiously, as Lewis Kingston in the 17 is doing a phenomenal job holding off the much more powerful Volpe. Now on board the nose camera on the Volpe as he hunts down the Nemoto, as Packer Carroll is probably not going to want to stay behind Kingston this much longer. Pretty sure he's getting tired of looking at the back end of that car. He's setting up Kingston for turn 1. Got a good run on the inside. Packer Carroll on the inside of Lewis Kingston. Is he going to get it done? Oh, pushes a bit wide. Kingston doesn't give him a whole lot of room. Kingston hangs on for now. Lewis Kingston, that 17 car, makes that car very, very wide. Packer Carroll now going to have to go back to square one a bit to try to get Lewis Kingston again. And that 17 car, not exactly Packer Carroll's, the thing Packer Carroll really wants to see. It's a great battle between these 2 guys, though. Leonid Roderick, car number 4. It looks like we're pitting every 5 laps, and it's going to be quite a few pit stops for this race. Back in on lap 15. Leonid Roderick is. Luciano Savaral staying out in the 3 car. So Luciano stays out. Going to try to stretch it even longer. Can it see in the background whether or not Ashby came into the pit lane, because Ashby in the 55 car it may have dropped off a little bit, but didn't see if Ashby came in or not. Luciano Savaral has had quite a few good runs this year, as now we got Lewis Kingston versus Packer Carroll again, as Carroll gets a better run. Oh, Carroll slides it around in 5, and I think Packer Carroll's finally got the position. Yep, there he goes. Packer Carroll's finally gotten around Lewis Kingston. Now to see if he's able to pull away. Somehow, I doubt it, but Kingston giving Carroll several headaches. Carroll gets a better run through there, and it looks like Packer Carroll is going to be able to stretch on the 17 just a little bit. So, Packer Carroll and Lewis Kingston coming now through 12, and Packer Carroll is just trying to stretch away from Kingston because he doesn't want to have to deal with getting around that 17 car again, but Kingston keeping up with him. Ben Atkins is running in 16th place. He ran fairly well here last year. He was driving a different car last year, but needless to say, Ben Atkins also seems to excel here at Road Gatineau in the Tutino. Tutino got a double points here last season, but they were disqualified. And here's a car running in 17th, Alessandro Rossini. there's been some rumors that Rossini could be headed off to Volpe for next season. And wouldn't that be interesting to see an Italian driver in the faster Italian team? Because Dutino hasn't been the fastest car, but Rossini's done a pretty good job with what he's got, and he definitely should be proud of himself because he had a hand in designing that car. Martinez in the 0 car into the pits, along with Scott Stoidler. So Martinez, the Mexican driver, has emerged victorious throughout the pit stop battle with Manacor Engineering. So the Alex Harrison team showing Manacor Engineering a thing or two. Melanie Klebno in the 12 cars running in, I believe, 6th. And Peter Short in the 22 car trying to give Klebno quite a few headaches. However, Klebno did get around Peter Short throughout this last run. So Melanie Klebno, the Swiss driver, of course, that I mentioned earlier, there was a rumor of her going to Hodges Walter Racing. We're not sure whether or not there's any truth to that or not. Because that means, of course, that they'd have to get rid of Luciano Savaral as Greg Woodard in the 41 car comes into the pit lane again. Zelda Ashby in the 55 car, despite that time penalty, is going to have a pretty good result here no matter what happens. We haven't seen anyone actually truly kill an active time penalty before. In other words, finish exactly where they would have even if they didn't get a time penalty. And Ashby could be one of the first drivers to do that. And we're not referring to drivers that, of course, finished last. Luciano Savaral emerges from the pit lane behind Leonid Roderick. Scott Bates in the 88 car is a couple of laps down after he spent quite a while getting out of a couple of the sand pits. But Luciano Savaral takes advantage of the back marker, goes on the inside of Leonid Roderick, and Savaral to the lead. Oh, Scott Bates, I don't think saw that one coming. But Luciano, very aggressive move, get by Roderick and take over the lead of the race. So Savaral, the Brazilian, back on point, as now he begins to try to stretch away from Roderick. Savaral has had almost won 2 races earlier in the season, but on both occasions, a Volpe took him out in the last lap. Cameron Taylor is still running in the Team Timothy car. That's a Toronto-based TM Lights team. They've run with that 68 car before in the Master Cup Series, but not for several years. They won the TM Lights race yesterday with Cameron Taylor as the driver. He was a runner-up in the TM Lights Series last year. Luciano Savaral and Leonid Roderick still 1-2. I wonder if Roderick is sort of saving fuel and staying behind Luciano. No, I don't think that's the case. Roderick's clearly peeking out and trying to get by him. He's not exactly going to wait around for Savaral to slip up. Savaral, though, got the better line. He's got the better line coming into 3. Does he get... Yes, Savaral hangs on. So, despite Roderick's best attempts, Savaral denying him. Zach Duff in the 74 car running in 6th place. He's got Klebno in 7th, who is going faster than he is. And Greg Woodard right behind Duff. Greg Woodard, Ian Cooper. That is a battle for 21st. However, that's not in the points, so I don't think Duff has much to worry about. So, Zach Duff in the 74 car. Meanwhile, right behind him, Peter Short and Melanie Klebno continuing to go at it. Peter Short tries to get under Klebno, coming uphill. Not quite going to happen. He may have a better shot getting by Klebno up at turn 5, but Peter Short might have already blown that run. We'll have to wait and see, but no, it looks like he's a bit too far back unless he makes a very ambitious dive, which I don't think he's going to do. No, Peter Short not close enough. Turn 5, of course, right there. Oh, wait a minute. Klebno slipped up a little bit. Peter Short might have a run at Klebno now, down into 6, 7, and 8. Here he comes, Peter Short. Around. This is going to be a very brave move if he makes this one stick. Klebno not giving him a whole lot of room. Peter Short goes through. Not quite. Klebno hangs on. Melanie Klebno hung on to that one for dear life, as Melanie Klebno now stretching a little bit on Peter Short, who didn't exactly get the best of runs coming off that little complex of corners, as Klebno heading downhill has now pulled away a little bit from the 22 car. So Melanie Klebno might be in for a pretty big points day. She's just able to hold Peter Short off for a couple more laps. We'll have to wait and see here if she's able to do that. Here's Scott Stoidler chasing down Chris Davenport. Now, I mentioned that Davenport's ride might be in danger and that Alert might be considering throwing Davenport out of that car. There are some rumors going around that they're not terribly happy with Mika Pasanen either, and that Scott Stoidler might make a couple of appearances in the 70 car. Wouldn't that be interesting? And if Stoidler's couple of runs in the 70 car go as planned, then Davenport might be out of a ride. So, that leaves an opening here for the 28 car, theoretically. I'm not sure how much those rumors have to them or not, because Davenport is having a fairly good run here today, but I don't think Alert's terribly happy with Davenport anyways. Davenport is married to Alexis Rainsford, the former two-time Master Cup Drivers' Champion. Oh, maybe could have learned a thing or two, but here comes Stoidler on the inside, squeezing Davenport out a little bit. I wouldn't do that to Chris Davenport, because Davenport has been the king of crashing in free practice. Scott Stoidler makes... Oh! Smoke coming out of the back of the 28 car. I don't think they touched. I think Scott Stoidler may have had a gearbox problem or something coming downhill, and it just let go right then. Davenport coming into the pits, though, to check for damage in the 6 car. Zach Duff in the 74, and Peter Short into the pits is Davenport in the 6 car is on his way in. Leonid Roderick and Luciano Salvarello, in the meantime, are still doing battle on the racetrack as Roderick makes a peek on the inside of Salvarello in 5, and he's going to get him. As Leonid Roderick now reclaims the lead from the Brazilian, who has been leading quite a few laps, that Roderick has not been able to lead due to being in the pits, so Luciano Salvarello might be in with a shot at the bonus points for leading the most laps as Leonid Roderick heads into the pit lane. Luciano Salvarello, as is the norm, staying out a bit longer, and it looks like he'll be in this time by. Car number 3, Luciano Salvarello, setting himself up for another win, or for rather a shot at getting another win, and he's got to do it. He's going to have to fight a Volpe to get it. So if history's anything to go off of, we're going to see fireworks in the last lap, and I'm pretty sure Luciano is going to hate the fact that I mentioned that. Salvarello into the pits though, and he has the lead after that sequence of pit stops. Ben Atkins in the 50 car was black flagged for dropping oil on the track, and the 50 car has been retired. That's too bad. He was running up in 15th place. A very solid run for the Englishman in the Tutino. But Luciano Salvarello, though, is really beginning to pull on Roderick. Kingston and Carroll still battling for third. Kingston once again has the advantage, and I'm sure Packer Carroll is going to need some headache medication or something like that. But regardless, Salvarello holds the lead. Matthias Taub is marching his way forward. He's going to take 9th place away from Jose Luis Martinez if this move goes off properly. And it does so. Matthias Taub up to 9th. Martinez in the 0 car also. He's been having a stellar run today. A top 10 is exactly what he needs for an Independence Trophy. And this is his first Independence Trophy race. He ran California as a promoter's option driver. Danny Sullivan, another Independence Trophy driver, up to 17th. He's driven a pretty clean race despite the fact that he was in that big pileup in the first lap and got a little bit of damage on that car, and he's really just kind of soldiering on. Looks like Cameron Taylor may have gotten by him, so that might move Sullivan back a place. But regardless, great run for the New Yorker. Danny Sullivan in this 81 car, the two-time Carrera Grand Prix winner. Was running at the Indy 500 this year. Didn't do very well, but regardless, Danny Sullivan having a pretty good run today. White flag this time by. Luciano Salvarello's got the lead, and Leonid Roderick running in second. And here we go. As we got a car leaving the pits, but they're not a factor. Salvarello holding off Roderick through turn 1, and coming through 2. There's one passing opportunity right here down at 3. But Luciano Salvarello pretty close, has got Roderick covered there. Roderick thought about it, though. Up at turn 5, though. Roderick has a dive on the inside of Luciano Salvarello. Salvarello trying to squeeze him down, but Roderick going through. Leonid Roderick takes over the lead on the final lap of the race. Salvarello back to second. He's still got half a lap to hold to try to get the lead back from Roderick, but the Volpe appears to be a little bit better right now. Luciano now he's only got a couple of corners to go to get Leonid Roderick and try to take this one back. He's got half a lap to do it, but Roderick is pulling away just a little bit. I don't think Salvarello is going to be close enough to do it in 12, which is going to be his next best opportunity, I believe. Roderick now, he's got a lap car up ahead, but I don't think that lap car will be any factor whatsoever. Roderick now going downhill. See if Salvarello is going to have enough. Not close enough at all. The lap car of Rossini not a factor at all, as Roderick's got only a couple of corners to go. He gets around the 42 car, and now going down the main straightaway, Leonid Roderick is going to avenge Wales. On the main straightaway, Leonid Roderick wins at Quebec by passing Savaral on the last lap in a thrilling finish. Leonid Roderick takes home the victory with Luciano Savaral in second, and his teammate Packer Carroll completing the podium, beating Lewis Kingston to the line. Kingston and Ashby round out the top 5, with Zach Duff holding off Melanie Cleaveno and Peter Short, both of whom were bearing down on him as the laps were winding down. Matthias Taub and Jose Luis Martinez round out the top 10. Davenport trying to repair his reputation with a solid run in 11th. Chris Johans finished 12th. Yevgeny Kuznetsov, didn't mention him all day, but the very popular Russian driver had a great run up to 13th. Danny Savin made up a few positions at the end, got up to 14th. Rossini, 15th. Troy Adams, didn't mention him at all, but he got into the incident on the first lap, really suffered from that, and it was well back from the field for pretty much the whole race. Cameron Taylor in 17th. Greg Woodard and Ian Cooper were off the lead lap, and Cade Taylor ended up in 20th place because he had a problem with just a couple of laps to go and had to bring the 56 car into the pit lane, and they were not able to get him back on track. So Cade Taylor was not running at the finish of the race, but he managed to still bring home a point. Finished one lap down in 20th place. Scott Bates finished 21st, 2 laps down. And, well, I'm pretty sure Scott Bates is hoping that Cade Taylor would have gone out 1 lap before he did. In any case, let's have a look at the Drivers' Championship. After 11 rounds, halfway through the season, and Davina Henton leads the championship still. Henton, Devereaux, and Michael Sykes did not score any points, so neither of them really were able to make ground on each other. Zelda Ashby, though, inserts herself into 3rd in the championship and really setting herself up for a possible title run. Again, I think anyone in the top 10 in points has a shot at winning it at this stage of the game, and I'd say everyone down to maybe even around Scott Bates possibly is still in with the chance of winning the championship. Especially given the speed out of that 88 car, I think Bates could be a dark horse here. Nasova in the 7 car has sort of fallen off as of late. Pliskin in the 16 car, maybe. The Lykoyas have been fast. We'll have to see how well they're able to hold up. Tenchi, not really a factor. Tenchi does not run all the races. She hasn't run one since Wales, actually. Woodard in the 41 car, I think, is a bit far back to really mount the championship challenge. Ditto Kevin Dwyer. And Quiggles Jr. in the 99 car went out on the first lap. And there's some reports that he might be dropped to the back of the grid for the next race for his involvement in that Turn 1 Shamaza. We'll have to wait and see what comes of that. In any case, let's have a look at the Independence Trophy standings. We're halfway through the season, and this is how that looks. Still, Ike Durbin holds first, Karpenko's second, Craig Mummert third, Ben Haran, the 2 FinTech cars, neither of them have really been a factor at all. Danny Savin, the 81 car, looks like he could be, once again, a very serious threat to win the Independence Trophy. Friedrich Jaeger, Nick Dawson, Vijay Pushanda in the 57 car. Pushanda and Cameron Taylor might be dark horses as well. Going a bit further back, Jim Davidson with a bit more luck probably could be as well in the 222 car. But there's also a couple of names not on this list. Jose Luis Martinez sits on 66 points in the Independence Trophy. That 0 car ran its first race today, and I wouldn't entirely be surprised if the Alex Harrison team doesn't make things very, very interesting in the Independence Trophy battle. We're now halfway through the 2013 TM Master Cup Series season, and now the series will visit 2 short tracks back-to-back, the first of which is the Round of Ohio at the Ohio Motor Speedway.